Hi everyone, I'm Isabel.
And I'm Kateri. Welcome back to another episode of No Sugar with Everything Crafts. So yesterday we ran our 10-mile race that we had previously talked about, the Philadelphia Broad Street Run. And
Woo!
it was so much fun. I had a great time.
I did as well.
I'm
Yeah.
so proud of us. Honestly, it was the best feeling in the world finishing and just even during it, just being like, oh my God, we're here, we're doing it. I feel like we had it hyped it up for like 2 months of training, basically. So
Yeah.
to finally cross that finish line and feel really good crossing it was such an accomplishment.
Yeah, I feel like we really did a phenomenal job, better than I think it was honestly our best run that we've ever had.
Our best pace together, anything that for that long of a distance.
Yeah, and it was fun to like look over and see you during the race. Like it started torrential downpouring on us after mile 5, and it was like hysterical looking over at you and being like,
no, like I literally looked at Isabel because I like couldn't stay. Like my eyes, I was like,
it was like crazy. Like, I'm not one to fear the rain, obviously, but it was like crazy. It was a little bit absurd for running. And
when it first started raining, I was like, "Oh, this feels great. Like a little bit of rain will be good." And then it just only got heavier and it didn't stop at all. I was like, "Oh wow, it's really gonna rain the rest of the time." But it came at a good time. Like we didn't start in the rain. We kind of, like you said, we ran into the rain.
Yeah.
Which was really nice. And yeah, I feel like we trained for 2 months. We felt very prepared and it was a great feeling.
It was. And
it really was.
I think we both were very had a lot of angst about it leading up to it, especially like the night before. But we woke up early the morning of the race, you know, like we had our breakfast, we got set, we stretched, we like let our food digest. We just like really did everything to prepare ourselves. So then when we did have to show up for ourselves the morning of the race, we did great. And it was fun. It was just like it was our first race. So it was really fun seeing that environment and now knowing what it's like. Like I want to do so many more runs and races now.
I have like the runner's high that people talk about.
Yeah. But
you know, I feel like we did a great job the morning of. We got up super early so that we could have time to be like fully awake. And then we got down to the race and just the environment of being around all these people doing the same thing as you was really great. So like your adrenaline was high. Like our first 2 miles were like so fast.
We were like sprinting. Like I knew it though too. Like
I know. I was like, wait, whoa, we have to calm down. But I knew after like 3 miles we'd be like fully settled into the run and feel much better, which totally happened. And then we kind of just kept a steady pace and got quicker by the end, which was a great feeling, especially with the rain. That helped.
Yeah. And I also think like although we started off like going at a quicker pace, I almost think we needed that because it kind of set our pace for the rest of the run. Whereas like we may have drifted, like we may have gotten slower, but it was because we knew that we had, you know, 7 more miles to go. So we were like, all right, let's tone it back. But it also made our tone back at our best pace. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it now was like a really good pace that we held because we were going so fast earlier that felt slow almost. So it was just nice. Like even when we were sprinting, like it didn't feel like we were going fast. I honestly was like, get me through these miles as quick as possible. So I wanted to be going quick, and the first 3 miles like flew by. I actually don't think we kept that steady pace of sprinting for 3 miles. I was like,
I just feel like I like blacked out in the first 3 miles because it's like you still are around a lot of. I mean, you're around a lot of people the whole time running. But the first 3 miles were specifically crowded because you like just started running and all the people just started running with you. So there was a lot of like nudging, not nudging, but you know what I mean. I was
close. No, I got nudged.
Yeah, so like
I got like a little body tap at the water station at mile 4. I was like, all right, buddy.
Yeah, I know. So it was overall a 20 out of 10 experience. I am so happy that we did it. And I feel like if you are trying to run longer distances, sign up for a race and you'll hold yourself accountable. The race will hold you accountable.
Yeah, like to run. You can't show up on race day not having prepared.
It'll be miserable. But it would suck.
It will literally be like the worst day ever. Like I just highly don't recommend. And if you're anything like us, we would never do that. Like we are type A people. We're like, no, if I'm going to do something, I find out how much. I get as prepared as possible. And I definitely think we are prepared. Like I don't know what the word is for that, but like how much we prepared was perfect for it. We over prepared and it paid off in the end because the 10 miles ended up being a breeze. Like we both said we could have kept going. And I kind of wish we did for half.
I know, I
but
know. But
but
yeah,
it's all right because now we
it
have
was
an excuse
awesome.
to run more.
Exactly. Now we have an excuse to do another one. And it was awesome being able to see our hard work pay off during the race. Like,
Yeah.
kind of like we talked about in last episode, you don't see results right away. So being able to see the result of our training for 2 months yesterday was just a great feeling. It was like, wow, okay. That's why we woke up and did all those runs. That's why we spent the weekends, Saturday morning running long distance, because today it paid off for us and we
Yeah.
got to see that, and we ran our best pace, and we were just, I feel like I was just so happy the whole time, and the rain didn't knock us down. I mean, after it was really freaking cold, but it was just a great, great time. So, highly recommend signing up for a run if you want to run a little bit longer and just push yourself to gain some confidence and show yourself that you can do hard things,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's that work that went into it and ultimately delivering on it and keeping that promise to ourselves that gave us the confidence. But I feel like that really also plays into what we are going to be talking about in today's episode, which is the power of keeping promises to yourself. And I really think showing up on the days that you don't want to and still keeping that promise to yourself is actually what builds the most confidence in you. And it gives you more confidence than any other situation, I think, because you showed up even when you really didn't feel like it. And that's important. So with that being said, I feel like we should talk about, what it even means to keep a promise to yourself. Like, Kateri, what, for example, are some promises that you make to yourself that you keep and are important and make you feel good, build that confidence for you?
Mhm. Yeah, I think there's definitely certain ones, either around certain categories like fitness, for example. If I say the night before, like, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna go on a walk in the morning. I'm gonna wake up and go to the gym, or even just my routine. If I say, okay, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I want to meditate and I want to pray and do my gratitude, I know that I need to do that the next day, because the second I do that, I can hit that check mark. It just is like, it's very empowering almost. And you kind of lean on yourself more and know that you can trust yourself to do it, basically. So, like, those are just some examples for me. Even one that I kind of struggle with is being like, oh, I'm going to journal before bed because it's at the end of the day. So it's like by the end of the day, things kind of go astray almost. So those are just some things. I think it's keeping a promise to yourself is really anything that you tell yourself you're going to do,
Yeah.
like, do it.
Like
That's
anything.
what yeah,
Yeah.
anything. It can be in, I'm going to cook this for dinner. I'm going to make a meal at home, whatever it is.
Yeah. Cause like
That's
the minute that you break that promise, I feel like is really a shot at yourself, almost
mhm,
a shot at your ability to not like what you said, like it makes you feel like you can do it. It's like, okay, I can't do it. Is kind
mhm,
of what I think your mind convinces yourself. And it's a really big letdown when you say you're going to do something and then you let your own self down.
mhm.
Um,
I think it really severs the relationship that you have with yourself, and I think that relationship is the most important because it
yeah.
guides how you are in all areas of your life, all relationships in your life. So when you say you're gonna do something and don't, you, like, break that trust, you break that respect with yourself, and it's like, how dare you do that to the person who means the most in this world, like, to
Exactly.
you. Like, I mean the most to me. I mean like, you know what I mean? I'm the most important person in my life, because without
Yeah.
showing up for myself, how can I show up in any other area, in any other relationship, and continue to grow and move forward and be successful when I'm not treating myself with that same standard,
Yeah, and I
essentially?
think no, it's so true, and I think when you have that lack of respect and create a lack of respect for yourself, it's like, how can you be confident? Like, it just all correlates. How can you be confident and feel good about who you are if you're not even showing up for yourself? It's almost
Mhm.
like it just if you don't keep promises, it's like if you do keep them, it creates confidence. If you don't, it like destroys you, honestly. Like
Yeah.
like I
Well,
don't think people realize, I'm not saying it destroys you, but I don't think people realize like even just little promises, what they subconsciously do to you and your mindset.
mhm,
And it's really important. Like even like setting an alarm and snoozing it. Like that's a
mhm.
promise you make to yourself to get up in the morning. And when you
And then
snooze
you
it,
break it. Yeah.
yeah, you break it. And just little things like that can build up and they just make you feel terrible about yourself and like you're not good enough or that you're not the shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and
I feel like the shit when I wake up and go on a run in the morning. I'm like, yeah, I did that. I did
yeah.
that.
And I told
You know?
myself I was gonna do it, and I did it. I held myself accountable. I trust myself to show up for myself when I need it. And I don't know, like, I feel like when you say you're gonna do something and you don't, not to be repetitive, but you just you lower your self-esteem. And I
Yeah.
think, how can you expect people to trust you, to respect you, if you don't even do it for yourself? Yeah, so like think about it. If you have a friend or a coworker, for example, so this coworker is telling you they're going to do all these things for you, like, oh, tomorrow I'll send that email out, or tomorrow I'll get you this report back, or a friend, yes, I'm going to hang out with you tomorrow night, anything like that, and then they don't follow through with it, you're going to lose trust in them. You're going to lose respect. And you might not be like in your head, I don't no longer respect that person, but slowly that builds up. And it's like, why would you trust a coworker to follow through the next time if they didn't the first time? It's the same thing with you. And I feel like we hold other people to a higher standard than we hold ourselves. But until you look inward and realize how many times a day you're breaking those promises with yourself, you can't really, not that you can't function in other areas of life, but you can't perform your best.
Yeah. Well, because it really like confidence is kind of key to perform your best, right? Like
Mhm,
you need to go into every situation in life knowing that you can do it.
mhm,
You can't wonder if you can do something. You have to know. And you
mhm,
don't know unless you've held yourself accountable before. And if you've never held yourself accountable, then well, you know you can't do it. You know what I
mhm,
mean? It's like you have to be able to know it. And I think that example of a friend is so great because I think oftentimes we would never break a promise to our friends, but we would
mhm,
break it to ourselves so easily. And it's kind of
mhm.
like it's like going
It's
back to
rude.
what you said,
It's rude.
we are the most important people. Like you know, as a person, everyone's their own character in their life.
Mhm,
Everyone's their own main characters. Like you are the most important person in your own life. The only promises that you should really be prioritizing are the ones to yourself. And I think
mhm,
that's overlooked a lot. And it's like it's so natural to overlook it, honestly.
mhm.
Like,
Well, and
and
I
it's not
think,
talked about.
yeah, definitely. I feel like it's not, and it's so crucial. And I feel like with the confidence thing, the reason it gives us so much confidence, gives anyone so much confidence, is because, so you tell yourself you're going to do something, and when you do it, you kind of prove it to yourself, like, okay, yes, I can. I can. So then the next time something challenging comes up, you know that you can do it because you've showed up for yourself before. And
Yeah.
I think having that natural confidence, like not what you look like, not what clothes you're wearing, that inner confidence of I can do anything for myself that I can control, nothing else matters.
That's an important point to point out because I didn't it totally could be misconstrued as like the exterior confidence, and like that's not what we're talking about. Like
No.
that's kind of on you to figure out. Like
Mhm.
that's such a personal thing for someone to figure out, but the inner confidence comes with like we keep saying like
I
just
know.
holding yourself accountable. I know it sounds
Mhm.
repetitive, but I can't emphasize it enough because
I
it's the key. Like
I feel like
there
it's a
is no yeah,
foundation for
there
your
is no
life.
hidden message. It's the one stepping stone that if you keep promises to yourself every day, you are bound to move forward. Bound.
Mhm.
There's no moving back from holding yourself accountable. Nothing bad can
Mhm.
come from it. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? But it is the hardest promise to keep. So,
It
you
definitely
know,
is. I feel like even this morning, for example, we both woke up, and obviously we ran yesterday, so we were like, let's go on a walk in the morning, move our legs before we both get working. And we woke up, and even for a second, I thought about not going on the walk and sleeping in longer, but I knew we had to get ready to record this episode, so I was like, no, we have to go on a walk. Now
yeah.
we have to, like, we get to, and I want to do it. So I
We
know,
wanted it. Yeah.
yeah, I know in the end I wanted to. Then after that, we get home. And because I kind of woke up, got ready for the walk right away, I didn't do my normal wake up, meditate, or breath work, pray, gratitude rampage, journal, or I didn't do any of that yet. So we got back from the walk, you started working, and I started checking my emails, right? Like I start looking at what notifications do we have on everything across, anything like that. And for a second, I was like, wait, I didn't meditate, I didn't do any of that. And I didn't do it the day of the race. Like I didn't do it yesterday. So what is it going to do for me at the end of the day if I don't do this? And I was dreading it almost. Like I was like, "Oh, I don't feel like going to meditate and I don't want to do it, but I know it'll be worth it." And it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. It was almost like I didn't feel like it because I had already been checking my emails and I was making up
Yeah.
excuses like I'm hungry, I want a cappuccino.
Yeah.
I got to go answer emails and stuff, the typical excuses. And then I went upstairs and for 5 minutes, I literally meditated for 5 minutes only. And my brain thoughts were going crazy today, but I still showed up. I still did it for 5 minutes. And then those 5 minutes led to me praying for 10 minutes and gratitude and all that during it. And then I got to journal for another 5 to 10 minutes. And then I walked downstairs and just felt so much better that I set aside that time for myself. And even I feel like leading into the rest of the day, it's like, well, I controlled what I could control with myself this morning. So now the rest of the day, I can just kind of not sit back and relax, but just feel a little bit better and
Yeah, I
hold
feel
myself
like
to a higher standard going into everything. You don't even realize that you're doing it, but it shifted for me this morning. Like it shifted something in me to have a better day.
yeah, exactly, and I think, they may seem tiny, but it's like
Mhm,
you don't know you don't always know how your day is gonna go, so it's really important to you don't know the promises that you have to make to yourself during the day, but those are the ones that you know are consistent promises, so if you
mhm,
can make those, tiny promises, which aren't tiny, they do a lot for you,
mhm,
then you're gonna have a great day and probably keep the rest of the promises to yourself. Like, it
mhm,
just totally sets your mindset, I feel like, on a really great path.
mhm. And I think some like tangible takeaways for people to implement this more into your life or take like note of how many promises you're saying and how many are you keeping, how many are you breaking. So it's almost like, all right, before you go to bed, write a list of 3 things that you already knew you were going to do tomorrow. You're not like creating new things for you to do. What are 3 things you have to do tomorrow? And just write, I'm going to work out. And if you want to get specific, I'm going to work out at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm going to reach 10,000 steps. I'm going to post one reel on Instagram, whatever, whatever your
Yeah.
goals are. And I think once you visually start seeing, okay, I made these 3 promises, let's hit all of them the next day, right? And kind of check them off. I feel like that's just a good way to start because half the time I don't even realize what I'm saying I'm gonna do to myself, right? Like I don't say all the time out loud, like I'm gonna do this, this, and this. Sometimes in my brain, I'm just like, oh, I want to go home and do that. Oh,
Yeah.
I wanna look up this, and then I don't do it, and I don't realize that I'm not even doing it, so it's almost like take note. Start by
Yeah.
taking physical note of it in your phone, on pen and paper, whatever it is, and then go from there and watch yourself kinda check it off and the confidence that you feel from that.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's a great point just because, sometimes, you forget, and then you remember later and you're like, "Crap, I broke that."
Oh my god, I
You know
always
what I
do
mean?
that.
So I'm like,
I
that's a
hear all
really
these things, I'm
yeah,
like, "I'm gonna do that," but it's like, how can you hold yourself accountable to do it? So you have
yeah,
to if it's starting with pen and paper and checking off the box or on your reminders on your phone, start that way.
yeah,
Start in a way that will literally put it in front of you so you can't avoid it.
yeah, and I also think if you're one to recognize, also admit to sorry, I have 2 little tangents now, but if you're one to recognize that you don't keep promises to yourself or you've been breaking them lately, start small, don't make promises that you can't keep because
Mhm,
then you're setting yourself up for failure. Never do that. I'm not saying don't, create big promises. If going to the gym and working out at 7 a.m. is hard, I'm not saying don't do that because hard is good, but I'm saying don't fill your day with a million things to do because you'll never
mhm.
achieve it. And then you'll
Well,
immediately
and
let
and
yourself
don't
down.
say, "I'm gonna work out 7 days this week."
Yeah,
Say,
that's unreasonable. It's
"Yeah,
not.
exactly. I'm gonna
It's
work out twice this week." Just do it 2
yeah.
times, and you can pick the days.
Yeah, so if you're
Then it
starting off like that, I just feel like set a reasonable amount. There's no shame in, doing keeping one promise to yourself a day because once you get that one down, you can build.
Mhm,
There's no limit in life where you have to do it all at one time. I
mhm,
often think that it happens to me a lot. I'm like, "Oh, I should start running. I want to start boxing. I want to start playing tennis." And it's like when you look at them all together, I'm like, "How am I ever going to do that?" But when you take it one by one,
mhm,
it'll it'll naturally come and you'll just get better and better at it and it'll make the other task that you end up trying to keep a promise to yourself for easier.
mhm,
It'll be
mhm.
easier to keep your promise to yourself. So, I also think that's really important. Don't try to incorporate a new morning routine of 15 steps. It's not going to be feasible.
Yeah,
So,
take it one step at a time, and then you can stack it up as high as you want once you're used to doing it
yeah.
and are comfortable with doing it. It's like I said on Instagram the other day too. I had, like, posted that I didn't wanna go on a run that day, and I told myself in the morning, do like a 1 to 2 mile run, like literally a 20-minute workout. That's all you need to do. Middle of the day, put my sneakers on and I did it. And I immediately, as soon as my feet hit as soon as I put my running outfit on, I immediately felt better. And it's like, don't break that promise, build on it. Like you just
Yeah.
said. Okay, so then I went for a run and then I ended up doing more core workout so I built on it. And then after that, I was doing things for everything Kraus. I was doing things for my other job. Like I was just building on that momentum I had all from going out and running 2 miles. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying you have to go out and go running, but it just an example like that. Like I told
That
myself
for
in the
you.
morning, in the morning, and I was pushing it off. And then 1 o'clock came and I was like, go upstairs and get changed right now. Don't think
Yeah.
about it. Go get changed. As soon as I got changed, I knew that I was doing it. I was doing it for myself.
So before we wrap up this episode, I also just want to point out that, I think we always say this, but like we are not perfect. There
Mhm.
are some days where we do not break all of our promises, but break, little promises like, oh, I didn't meditate today. Like I said I
Mhm.
would. And we never like how we feel when we do break those promises. So I think taking that into consideration and, really realizing it and sitting with it, I think this week we definitely want to approach and like let's keep all of our promises this week. It's not
Mhm.
every week that we break a promise, but we're human. It's natural to break one every once in a while. And I think this week we really have goals to not break any. Kateri, I
Mhm.
don't know if you have any certain goals this week. I know I do. Like I definitely want to get movement in every day this week.
Mhm.
I want to for work goals. I mean, this is like I don't really have that much of a connection to it because it's not as much for me, but I definitely want to get all of my work done. But also, I have goals for everything Kraus this week that I really want to keep promises to,
Mhm.
organizing content, get sorting through backlog, stuff like that. And also, praying, keeping that goal, making sure I journal every single night, trying to get to bed early. You know what I mean? Like just like little promises like that I really want to
Mhm.
hold myself accountable for this week.
Mhm. And you take it one day at a time,
Yeah.
like one day you go to bed earlier, the next day you journal, the next day you journal and go to bed earlier and kind of
Yeah.
stack it up for yourself.
Yeah.
So it's not, like we said, it's not super overwhelming.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, this week I definitely want to focus on that morning routine. Even for the little time I did do it this morning, it felt so good. And I know that every morning isn't the same, but I just always put it in perspective. Like I can scroll on my phone so easily for 10 minutes, but yet I push off meditating for 10 minutes like it's this heavy hammer. It's like crazy. So I definitely want to focus on that because it does make me feel so good. And I love the feeling afterwards and I love when I'm in it too. It feels really good. So I want to focus on that. And I think just focusing on, I think one thing that I've struggled with is I always tell myself, think before you speak. Like you have to think before you speak. And this kind of clicked for me when we were talking about it is a lot of times I don't. I'll snap too quickly, like at you, at mom, at like my brothers, at my boyfriend. Like I'll just be so quick with my words, not realizing that I'm going to regret them the second I say them. So I really want to try and focus on that. Like that little promise is just if it takes breathing for 5 seconds before I answer you or before I answer mom, whatever it is, I think that's something I definitely want to work on this week because I've been saying I want to work on it and I have gotten better. But some days, as you know, Isabel, I definitely don't.
Yeah.
So, you
For
know,
me too. Kateri
yeah,
and I, as we say, we love hard and we fight hard. So
yes.
we are, we have a way with words, us girls.
Mhm.
We
Yes, we
really
do.
do. But it's so funny because we'll like literally come back 15 minutes later and be like, I didn't mean anything. Like we'll like
Like,
laugh at
not
each other because I'm
sometimes
like,
it's not even that
oh
long. It's
no,
like
it's
literally
not
1
even like anything that mean. It's just like I'll say something and Kateri and I will literally come back and I'll be like, I know you did not mean it at all. That's just
Well,
a
and
little
it's
side
funny
note.
because like, if I hear Isabel say something, I'm like, "I know she didn't mean that," and I know she's gonna be apologizing for it, and, like, she knows I didn't mean what I said either, and obviously, that's a terrible way to be, but that's part of the goal of thinking before I speak, breathing before I speak. Because I think if
Yeah.
you like, "Okay, what are you gonna answer? Is that worth saying? Like, will this make this conversation go better? No, don't freaking say it."
Yeah,
So, yeah, that's
exactly.
just, like, a personal one for me. I feel like I've been writing that down in my journal a lot too, so
Okay. And really, really quickly, I'm sorry, guys, but before we wrap it up, just going off what you just said, that took pure honesty to admit that to yourself. I just want
yeah.
to point that out. And, in order to take the first step and to keep the promises to yourself, you have to be honest with yourself about what you're breaking. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, it's scary to confront that and admit to yourself that you're not holding yourself accountable. You know what I mean? Like, no one
Mhm.
wants to confront that. No one wants to feel
And I
bad
don't
about
really
themselves.
wanna tell people that I
Yeah, like
freaking I'm too quick to speak in a mean way to my
yeah,
people I love, like, that sucks,
like,
but
you're not proud of it, so it's not something you necessarily want to face if you don't have to face it, but
Mhm.
facing it is how you take the next step to bettering from it. So I just
Mhm.
wanted to point that out because it takes a pure level of honesty with yourself to grow.
Mhm.
And the minute
Mhm.
that you start to be honest with yourself and really tell yourself all the good and the bad, you will get better, in small ways, like keeping promises to yourself. So I just wanted to say that really
Yeah.
quickly because I thought that was a really good example, unplanned, untalked about, of how you really were just honest with your actions and now are going
Mhm.
to act from it. So,
Mhm.
yeah. But with that being said, everyone, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of No Sugar. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. We just wanted to touch on it after our race because I felt like, keeping promises to ourselves was a big thing throughout that training. And
Mhm.
we fulfilled the ultimate promise yesterday. So it was something that was on our minds, and we thought you guys would really benefit from hearing it and just also hopefully relating to it and knowing that it's human to break promises, but you can grow and get better when you do
Mhm.
keep them to yourself. So,
Exactly. So feel free to watch this episode on YouTube, listen on Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere that you listen to your podcast. Let us know what promises you're going to keep this week. We'll put up a little poll on Instagram, so feel free to check that out on Everything Kraus and the No Sugar Pod. Yeah, thank you, everyone.